Well, welcome everybody today. It's great to meet all of you. And as you can see, we're geographically dispersed. And that's one of the joys and the exciting part about fielding is that we get to be come together in a space, but be spread all over the world. And so we had a chance to just briefly get to know the people that are on the call right now, but this is being recorded. So there might be people that are watching this later on, and we want to welcome you too. Let me just tell you briefly a little bit about myself. I am the director of the Media Psychology program here at Fielding, and that includes our certificate programs, our master's in media psychology, and our PhD in media psychology. Media psychology has been around in the American Psychological Association for about 25 years, and it first came to being thinking in the terms of the psychologists that were communicating psychological concepts, research, and theory out to the general public. So I really enjoy being the director of the media psychology program here at Fielding. I also am a past president for the American Psychological Association for the Society of Media Psychology and Technology. That was in 2015. And I'm also a senior research fellow for the Media Psychology Research Center. So this goes without saying that the world is changing, and it's changing dramatically and very quickly. And media psychology actually applies those concepts and theories in the field of psychology to be able to develop this integrated scholarly approach to the study of media and the effects and how it impacts the way we connect, form relationships, make meaning of our lives. And this happens whether it's individuals or groups or society. And then we look at, sensory and cognitive psychology, and we bring those bits of information into it. We look at system theories, human development. We really drill down into motivation and learning and communication theories. They all sort of overlap and synergistic. So media psychology can follow into the developmental psychology, into the social psychology, the cognitive psychology. And we really sort of bring all those specialties together when we're looking at the implications of media psychology. So media psychology, as you see in this slide, really is that application of the psychological science, that idea of we're looking at concepts and theories, and then we're applying them. So what is media psychology? Media psychology is a variety of things, but we look at media psychology as applied science and look at it about how we can make a difference, especially here at Fielding. We're looking at media psychology and social change, advocacy, and as I mentioned just previously, as my presidential initiative when I was president of American Psychological Association for Media Psychology and Technology, my presidential initiative was Media and Technology for Good. So why media psychology? With the disciplines for the digital age, media is not a thing anymore. It really talks about a whole variety of things that we see in the world. And that's why I add technology so often to it, because they've blurred and we no longer think of media strictly without bringing technology into the picture. So just like on this call today, we're geographically dispersed, so geography no longer really matters. And we sort of have flattened those hierarchies so that we're one big global culture. As we know, the web is powerful. We've seen just in recent days ways that we've been able to bring people together in crisis, how it's created economic growth, and really in a major way global advocacy. And I think under the political and different types of pressures that we have going on, we'll only see global advocacy growing and growing. So in media psychology, we're looking at the sort of emerging technology that can really make a change. And that's how we're connected globally, and yet we're also empowered globally. We are mobile, the idea that we have something in our pocket now that's a mobile computer that connects us on a personal, sort of on-demand, real-time data. We can get it at our fingertips. I do a lot of research in augmented and virtual and mixed realities. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. But the idea of that sense of presence is now what we're focusing on more than where we actually physically are holding space. Artificial intelligence, and I'm seeing that merge into big data, into the virtual and the augmented realities, into the way that we're connected, that on-demand information that I just mentioned, now with artificial intelligence is being pushed to us with what they think that we would specifically desire. So things are customized just to us. And the idea of geomapping and big data. So let's use psychology as that lens when we're looking at what's happening to us globally, when we're looking at media, when we're looking at technology and that human fundamental. You know, the key is that media psychology, technology changes, but what our core human fundamentals do not. When you think about that sort of hunter-gatherer type of thing, we're out on this savannah, we still are, you know, have that fight or flight type of response to certain things. So we have to be aware of that when we're creating and designing and consuming media and technology. So media psychology uses psychological science as that lens so that we can study it, analyze it, and then develop traditional and emerging media communication and technology. What can you do with media psychology? I have to say that's the second question I get asked. The first one is, what is media psychology? But the second one is, what can you do with media psychology? And really the question we should be asking is, what can't you do with media psychology? Obviously, all these different things that are listed here are areas where you can use media psychology. Some of the big ones that we see students working in right now and that we at Fielding work with deal with, you know, education and healthcare. In social media, we're looking at advocacy, you know, in politics, from the whole spectrum of campaigning to the other end of it, where you're looking at how can one advocate in the political atmosphere. We're looking at behavioral change. There's, you know, transmedia storytelling, the idea that we can, that the storytelling is pervasive through all of the media that we consume. So there's a whole variety of different areas where media psychology touches. And again, it's harder to see where it doesn't touch as opposed to where it does. Media psychology really is where we're talking about technology meeting that human experience. So we look at research in media interventions. We also look at how can we make technology more effective, more user-friendly. We look at the social impact of media technologies and how that can influence policy. We look at education and how you might design and consume content and learn in the most innovative ways, using technology as a tool to facilitate as opposed to the driver for it. Exploring new technologies that support health and wellness, wearables. Think about how many people are being helped these days, whether it's with diabetes, exercise, etc., by the wearable devices that are monitoring their health. Work with disaster and humanitarian efforts. So we had one student who just did his dissertation on the communities that formed in social media over a natural disaster and how much that helped the people in their mental well-being that were there, and also helped friends, families, and others to connect and get resources and aid to the people that were dealing with the disaster. We look at things like fandom. I co-wrote with some of my Fielding colleagues a book on Mad Men called Mad Men Unzipped, where we were examining what the fans had to say about Mad Men, and how from there what they had to say about life, what they had to say about parenting, what they had to say about marriage. You can imagine with Mad Men there was a lot of material there. So developing media to support advocacy campaigns and nonprofit ventures and social entrepreneurship are just a few of the ideas. conflict resolution. One of the big ones, because we have both the certificate in this and a concentration in the PhD, but branding and audience engagement and how we can create better social messages. We look at education and technology, online learning environments, and we even evaluate engagement in games and interactive experiences. And when I look at interactive experiences, I'm not just speaking games. I'm talking about immersive media that we can use in a whole variety of different ways. So why fielding? I'm so passionate about fielding. There's no place like it. We are the first media psychology PhD program, arguably in the world. And we also are the first to have a master's in media psychology for social change, and the first one to have a positive psychology and media concentration, which we have in the PhD program. So the other idea is that you can participate and be very active in the program from any location as long as you have internet connection. And you don't necessarily have to have the internet connection 24 hours a day, but that's where the bulk of your engagement in the program will take place. And I'll speak about the in-person different activities that we have in the PhD program. So the idea that you get to apply what you're learning immediately, you're engaging with folks we attract a lot of mid-career people. So you're engaging with people that have expertise, much like the folks that we spoke with before we started recording. The idea that you have expertise in the financial field or the management field or coaching or television news, CNN or CBS, the idea that you have been marrying media and communications and psychology and sort of blending them all in the interdisciplinary studies. So that idea that we not only learn from the faculty, you learn from each other. It's a very collaborative space, unlike most programs that I've seen out there, that we do it for the most part in a virtual environment, and then we have the opportunities to come together. We allow you to customize this. This is a chance for you to pick what your goals are and then be able to build your program around the courses that we offer, but build it around the directions that'll take you to where you want for your goals. Also through this, you're developing this network of professional colleagues, not only through your faculty and your fellow students, but also through the different professional opportunities that we introduce you to throughout the program. And the chance that you can sort of balance the different commitments that you have, that you can still be working a full-time career type job, have family, friends, and outside responsibilities, and still be effective and strong in your education. And then be able to earn your degree, relatively speaking, at your own pace. And we'll go into the expectations and then how you can push faster if you need to, or take it a little bit slower if you want as well. So what kinds of things, people ask about, our graduates and what they do. Well, we've got graduates that are performing groundbreaking research. We have ones that have gotten the MacArthur grants. We have ones teaching at prestigious institutions throughout the world. We have folks that are corporate top executives in very large organizations, so they're senior management. One gentleman that I'm thinking of in particular right now is a top exec at one of the largest telecom companies, and with his dissertation he was able to save his company millions of dollars. So his company was quite happy that he was getting his PhD and was able to directly apply it to his position. We have folks that are media influencers, social entrepreneurs. We've gotten people that have created foundations, NGOs. Many times they're going into strategic positions, whether it's media research, strategy, information design. We've got people that have gone from their masters here and entered into PhD programs at other prestigious universities. And influencing political strategy, people that have designed education curriculum, and a whole variety of consulting careers as well. So we have three main programs in the media psychology program here at Fielding Graduate University. The doctoral program, where you earn a PhD in psychology with an emphasis in media. We have our Masters of Arts program, again, in psychology with an emphasis in media. And then we have two certificate programs. One's in brand psychology and audience engagement, and the other one is in media neuroscience. So let me start speaking about the doctoral program at Fielding. I introduce you to a few of the faculty. I'm the second one on there, Dr. Jerry Lynn Hogg, and my biggest problem that I have is I'm multi-passionate. So this just begins what's listed here to talk about some of the research and my interest. Again, very interested in augmented and virtual reality and that idea of the experience and that digital space, which started primarily when online education was new, and I was one of the entrepreneurs in designing online education and thinking about that space differently than the traditional classroom. Of course, that's emerged out into augmented and virtual reality, which is another passion of mine. Always interested in media literacy and media reform, and that idea of, you know, what's lost and what's gained as we move into different spaces. I use that positive psychology lens, and that really drives me because I think that there are so many incredibly rewarding things, like us being here together on this webinar right now, whether you are in the space right now or watching it later on. The idea that we're being able to connect wasn't available in that same kind of way even just 10 years ago. So, and also very interested in that sort of social impact of technology and new media. Dr. Gary Hare, he's our guru in political psychology, so you can imagine he's been having a lot to talk about in his classes recently. He's interested in advocacy. He's also very interested in immersive media. Dr. Jason Oler, he's our distance learning and e-learning online community guru. He also is interested in digital and media literacy and digital storytelling. Dr. Pamela Rutledge, she is a co-director and co-founder with me of the Brand Psychology and Audience Engagement Certificate and Concentration. The certificate is a standalone, the concentration's in the PhD program. So obviously Pam and I are very interested in that brand psychology, audience engagement space, but she's our expert in narrative psychology and also in transmedia storytelling. And of course, very interested in positive psychology too. The two of us have created the positive psychology concentration in the PhD program. Dr. Karen Dill Shackelford, she's our social psychologist. She's interested in race, gender, and social categories, and in particularly social change, and also very interested in the pop culture fandom space. Dr. Regina Tuma, she's psychology of social media. She's also really interested in big data and social representation theory. And Dr. Dan Sewell, and he's our cognitive psychologist and stats guru. He teaches our research method track in our PhD program.
I apologize. Jerry Lynn, should we go back to the previous slide? I went past that too quickly.
You're fine. You're fine. Just
Great.
Go right. Keep on going. And
right.
Actually, what I'm going to do is this next slide I'm going to let you handle, and then we'll go back to me, since this is your area of expertise.
Okay, great. Thank you. I believe just about everyone that's on the call today already has this information from me, but for those of you who are joining us at a later time, the admission criteria for the PhD program is that you have a minimum of a master's or a bachelor's degree from a regionally accredited university, or with a minimum GPA of 3.0 or greater. If you're applying to the next term, which is our fall 2017 term, the application deadline is July 16th. The application form is online. There's a $75 application fee, which will be waived for those of you who attended today as a thank you for your attendance. You also are required to supply 2 letters of recommendation with your application, as well as your curriculum vitae, a statement of purpose, critical thinking and writing sample, and official transcripts from whatever degrees you use to apply to the program. And then there are additional requirements for those with degrees or outside of the United States. Now the current tuition the current tuition is it's charged by the term. We're on a trimester system, so 3 equal terms per year with a short break in between. It's $9,330 per term, a total of $27,990 per the year. There are some additional costs for travel for face-to-face sessions and special topics events, and your hotel, supplies, and books. There is a link on here for more information about tuition. And then also for those who will be applying for financial aid tuition, there is a link to find out more about financial aid. And we do have a wonderful financial aid department who can support you there. We'll go to the next slide.
So let's talk about the courses. Everybody wants to know, what are the courses? We have a total of 94 units. And in those 94 units, the 20 credits are in our foundations course. So we have a foundations to media psychology and a foundations of argumentation. Then you have, the credits are 4 units. So that's 5 classes in the foundation courses. And the rest of the foundation courses that I'm speaking of are the methodology, research methodology track that I mentioned earlier with Dan Sewell. We have media electives, which are 12 credits. You get to choose from there, and that would be 3 classes. And we have your psychology core, and that's where you'll be taking things like your cognitive psychology, bio-base, developmental psychology, and courses such as that. Then you have general electives, 4 courses, and practicum, which is a really interesting opportunity. We have 2 different types of practicum that you take. One is a media practicum, the other one is a research practicum. And we give you the opportunity to either join up with a research team that's already in progress or just starting. We give you the opportunity to take that outside in a particular area that you're interested in. So there's a lot of customization that can happen with that practicum opportunities. Then we have your qualifying exam, which is 4 credits, and your dissertation. And that last piece down at the bottom is your residency, which is 8 days in total, but you get to pick and choose when you take those. So you receive credit for each day that you attend. We have something that we call national sessions. We have one in January in Santa Barbara. And for those of you who live in New England like I do, in January, to say that you have to go to Santa Barbara for school is not a bad thing. But you get to pick and choose because we realize you all have very busy lives. So we try to make them geographically dispersed, and the topics have quite variety. So there's an opportunity in January and usually July to attend our winter session and our summer session, where it's possible to get several days, 4 or 5 days of your residency requirement in. We also then have what we call clusters, and sometimes we attach them to big conferences or unique, interesting little conferences. We also sometimes have them as workshops or events. So a couple examples of things that we've done just recently is we were able to go to Disney's broadcast and music facility in Orlando, outside of Disney, and spend a few days right there in, the film editing rooms and in the music rooms. And it was a fantastic opportunity to meet some of the experts in the field. Another thing that we just did was go to what's called Digital Hollywood, and we had a chance to speak with writers and producers and filmmakers and talk about different areas within media psychology that they were interested in. We also had the opportunity for some of the students to present with faculty members at that conference. We go to big conferences such as the American Psychological Association or the International Communications Association, and those are just a small sampling. We do try to keep the topics quite diverse and the locations where those are held. So it's not difficult to get your 8 days, and that is span over the time that you're getting your degree. So there's many opportunities to do that. So let's go back to that residency just one more time. You're required for 8 days of face-to-face academic credit that's required for the program. Again, we have these regional gatherings such as clusters. We offer those 1 quarter per year. We have them on the East Coast, the West Coast, and usually somewhere in the Midwest as well. We have national sessions. Those are usually January and July, and they're 1 week events. So you could conceivably attend one of those and get 5 of your 8 days. Then we also have things like research sessions, which are offered throughout the year. So you can take that to the next slide. We transfer up to 20 credits, and we can provide additional information for you about that to transfer them in. They have to be from the master's or doctor level, from a regionally accredited university. They have to have been taken within the last 5 years, and you must have gotten a B or better in those. And again, we have some specific details if that you think that might apply to you. So it's really exciting to start the PhD. You've got this new identity that you're taking on, and you become not only a member of the School of Psychology, but a school part of the community of scholars and practitioners. And it ends up being this lifelong community that you get to be part of. Many of our graduates have come back, wanted to be part of it. We have all the different events that I told you about where you can get some of your residency requirements. We also have alumni come to that, and it's this great collaboration space where many ideas and future research take place. So how do you go about making that transition into a PhD student? Well, we try to make it as easy as possible. We start out with this 3-week online orientation in our Moodle environment. And Moodle, for those of you who might not be familiar with it, is like Blackboard or Canvas or one of those types of systems. It's our learning management system. And it's the opportunity when you first start, before the actual classes start, to see what it's like to be in that Moodle environment, see what it's like to participate in a discussion. And we also introduce you to all the different types of material that you might need to be successful as a student. How do I register? How do I get in touch with a registrar? How do I get in touch with financial aid? What's the proper way to post? And how do I get into the library? And how do I contact my faculty or my fellow colleagues? Those types of things. We have student mentors that are in there to answer your questions, and we also have faculty available. Then, right as classes are starting, we bring you to Santa Barbara for 4 days. There's a 4-day orientation where you get an opportunity to meet the faculty and staff and have some other class time opportunities and to really give you that sort of immersive experience before you launch into your full-time PhD, becoming the identity of being a full-time PhD student. So during orientation, we do a whole variety of things, including understanding what that fielding learning model is. Some people, I believe one of the people that is on right now said that she wasn't particularly familiar with hopping online. And so we get you up to speed if you're not. Other people are very familiar and realize that we're a distributed model. So we are much more collaborative and bring in whole variety of people into the discussion, as well as try to make it as immersive experience as possible, as opposed to having it just be discussion board in an online environment. So we make sure that during that orientation, you understand the mechanics, what are the course requirements, what's it like to go through the dissertation, and we give you information about the research and learning resources. And you also have the opportunity to get to know the people that are starting right along with you. And again, sometimes those people become your best friends, your lifelong friends. If you're not touchy-feely, don't get afraid that you're going to have to do that. But I'm just saying that you have that opportunity to all be together, the group of students that are coming in and having the chance to get to know fielding. And you also have a chance to meet your faculty mentor, and then we sit you down and go and give you some different ideas about how you could be successful moving through the program. Some people say, I want to get it done in 3.5 years. Other people say, no, my job or my family life or whatever I'm doing is too intense right now. I'm only going to be able to take so many courses at a time. And we sort of work with you around that and let you be able to project forward how you would be moving through the program. So the Moodle seminars, just to give you an idea, and this goes for everybody, whether you're in the certificate, master's, or PhD, they're structured around weekly assignments. They're usually 10, 12 people in the course. We cap it at 12. We don't let more than 12 people in at a time so that you have a really nice ratio of students to faculty. And obviously the assignments are going to vary quite a bit for the topic and the faculty member, but there's always going to be a mix of some discussion. Some you might have a research paper or short essay. They all usually include some type of media project as well, and they all can be done asynchronously, meaning you don't have to all be together at the same time, although some courses the faculty member will offer some live webinars, so you have that opportunity to have that live discussion as well. So we have 3 terms per year, like Juliana explained, with a minimum of 18 units per year. And that works out to just a little over 4 classes a year is the minimum to stay in good standing. So that's not usually very difficult to achieve. And obviously you can do more if you want. The time commitment is ballpark about 20 hours a week. Obviously, that depends on the course you're taking. It depends on where you are in the term, usually closer towards the end of the term when you have a major project or research paper due, you might be working on it a little bit more. And the students usually take more than 1 course per term. Usually take 2, but if you know that you have some life event coming up and that you need to go a little slower that term, you can take 1. And on some occasions, students will take up to 3 courses a term. So how long does it take to do the PhD? Again, this really depends on, what are your drivers for this? And how are you set up? So I've had some students come in, they don't have children or significant other, they're not in a relationship, they have quit or put their job aside, and so that they are 110% working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day on their fielding career. We have other students that, have jobs that keep them very active and busy. But I would say ballpark, it should take you 4 to 6 years to complete, knowing that you could get it done in less than 4 years, with significant strategies in place to do so. But keeping in mind that at a minimum, you have to achieve 18 credits per year. And if you did it at that level, it should take you about 5 years to get through. The other thing I love about fielding is the incredible support that you get from the faculty. You have faculty mentors. Everybody is assigned a faculty mentor, and we're here to help you. We want you to achieve. We want you to be successful. So we're here for you to make it through the program and to answer questions that you have. And the question is never too insignificant or too small. So let's spend just a couple minutes talking about the Masters of Art program in Media Psychology, the Masters in Social Change. So this one is 16 units that are required, and you have 16 required courses, and those 4 are Introduction to Media Psychology and the Foundations of Research. These courses are very similar to the ones that are in the PhD program, where you've got the Foundations in Media Psychology and the Foundations of Research, and Argumentation, and then finally the Capstone Project. So the first 3 courses up there, the Introduction to Media Psychology, Foundations of Research, and Argumentation, the Art of Critical Writing, are taken at the beginning. And then your capstone is the last thing that you do. And it is much like a dissertation like the dissertations at Fielding, where you have control over what you want to do for your capstone. You pick an advisor, and the two of you work during that term together. You pitch your idea to your advisor of what you want to do, and they help sculpt it into something that can be a meaningful project. A capstone project includes both a media and academic written piece, but they can vary quite a bit depending on what you've done, what you're interested in doing. I've had students design research studies, and their media piece was much smaller. I've also had students do something like create a application for someone who is autistic, using principles of media psychology to design the app, and then they were able to write their research component part of that as the supplement for their academic piece to it. So it's a lot of fun. It also can be your calling card once you finish your master's, and you can take that out into the job market with you, and we help you design it along what your goals are. Let's talk about the electives. There's a lot. I'm not going to go through all of them. You can see them up here. You can see the diversity there, from something like positive psychology and social entrepreneurship to introduction to consumer neuroscience. I love the fact that we're bringing in core psychological principles and then applying it to the way that we take in the information through the media and technology, such as cognitive psychology and the display of information. Brand psychology and social storytelling. You'll see that the last four that are listed there are the four that are directly related to our certificates, but you don't have to take the certificate. You can take these courses even if you're not enrolled in the certificate. So the brand psychology and social storytelling, along with the audience engagement through profiling, those are part of the brand psychology and audience engagement certificate. And then the psychology of neuromarketing and the introduction to consumer neuroscience are part of the neuroscience neuromarketing certificate that we have. Just like the PhD program, the courses are delivered in Moodle. They're 12 weeks long. And the nice thing, and I didn't mention this when I was talking about the PhD program, but it's true there, is we have the most amazing electronic library where many of the ebooks are available. We actually have faculty try to get the librarians to have the books that we use be available by ebook. That's not always available, but they try to do that. And obviously a really rich and diverse database of journal articles. I think we have one of the best around for a university. And to top that off, we have great librarians that are available to chat with you online, whether it's text chat or call up. And if you have an issue or something you're trying to research, Abby in particular is right there for you. Again, the idea is about 10 to 12 hours per week per course. And that you also have a 3-week orientation, just like the one that I mentioned in the PhD program. And can you take the next slide, Juliana, and mute the background?
Hold on one second.
Oh, you are the background. Okay. Sorry about that. I'll let Juliana take this slide.
Sorry, my dear. Thank you. So the requirements for the master's program, again, the application is online. You need to have a minimum undergraduate degree with a GPA of 2.5 or greater, again, from a regionally accredited institution. Your application fee will be waived for attending the information session. We will need to see your official transcripts. Again, if you're have a degree earned outside of the United States, we'll need to have an evaluation. And I, of course, would go into more detail with you about that. We would like to see also your resume, and then again, a statement of purpose. And you'll see on this slide, which you'll all be receiving, more information about the application instructions. And of course, you can always contact me. And at the bottom, there is my direct email and phone line, and then our general media admissions mailbox. And I'm sorry about the background noise.
Oh, it's fine. And then I think there's another slide I'd like you to take.
Of course. So now talking about the master's and certificate, they're priced similarly. We charge by the credit, and most of the courses are four credits. So it's $585 per credit or $2,340 per course. The total program for the master's is $23,400, and for the certificate, $7,020. How long does it take? Well, for the certificate program is 3 courses, and you can take 1 course per term. You actually have the option to take 2 courses in the first term. With the master's, now you have the option to go full-time at either 2 or 3 courses per term and part-time at 1 course per term. Again, as we mentioned earlier, there are 3 terms per year. Fall begins in September, spring in January, and summer in May. Yes, both of these programs qualify for financial aid. If you are going to apply to the fall term, the application deadline is August 4th for both the application and your financial aid application, and then July 16th for the PhD program. Again, there's information for contacting our financial aid department if you have any more questions about going through that process. And there's a link to financial aid on our website as well.
So last but not least is our certificate programs, and they are housed in the master's program. So it's really important to know all the things that we talked about with the master's program courses would be the same for the certificate. And the other part that's wonderful is they're part of a fully accredited curriculum. They do apply if you decide to stay on and finish your master's. They would apply directly to your master's program, and as well as to the PhD program should you decide to join us in the PhD program. So if you're not sure where you want to go, this always is a really nice way to get a feel of fielding, get a feel of media psychology, and come away with a certificate from it. It's a fast, easy application. You just need to be able to, and Juliana can fill you in with the details there, but you don't need as many things as you do to apply for the master's or the PhD. And again, you share those same courses with the MA and the PhD students. So let me talk very briefly about our 2 certificates. The first one is Media Psychology. Certificate is Brand Psychology and Audience Engagement. And Dr. Pamela Rutledge and I were the ones that created this and are the ones that deliver this certificate. It's really exciting. I'm going to take it to the next slide. What's required for this? 3 easy courses. The first 2 that are required are the Brand Psychology and Social Storytelling, 566. And the second one is 568, Audience Engagement. It no longer requires that 566. I see that we haven't updated this one. You can take them in whichever order that you want to. Then you need to select one from the 3 that are listed there, and that's the way you get to customize it and make it directly applicable to what you're doing or the direction that you're going in. One choice is Global Psychology, Social Marketing in a Borderless World. Another choice is Positive Psychology in the Social Entrepreneur. And the third choice is the Psychology of Social Media Strategy. The second certificate we have is Media Neuroscience. And the requirements for that certificate are much like the other one. You have 2 required courses and then a bucket of courses that you can choose from. So the 2 required ones are the Introduction to Consumer Neuroscience and the Psychology of Neuromarketing. That one is sequential, and that is still requiring the 569 before you take the 567, which I don't know how taking one that's a higher number first makes sense, but somewhere the registrar's catalog it did. And then you have a choice of one of the 4 courses listed below: Changing Minds Through Narrative, Augmented Reality and Immersive Media, Media and Political Psychology, or Cognitive Psychology in the Display of Information.
Shall I?
Yes, you shall.
So as Jerry Lynn already alluded to, yes, the certificate admissions requirements are much simpler. You just need a bachelor's degree, again, from a regionally accredited university. There's an online application form. Again, your fee is waived for attending an information session. You do have the option of requesting a degree verification, or you can just send us your official transcripts either electronically or by mail in official sealed envelopes. And as it says there, that's it. It's pretty simple.
So now one more for you.
Yes, so again, as we have discussed already, for fall 2017, the master's and certificate deadline for applying is August 4th. If you are accepted in the program, you'll have until August 25th to enroll in the program. As Jerry Lynn mentioned, there'll be a new student orientation online from September. Excuse me, we can just skip that. First day of courses will be on September 6th. And
so now I'd
there
like
you
to
are.
open it up to questions. So you'll see my name in the middle there, Dr. Jerry Lynn Hogg. Please feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. And also Juliana is there and always willing to answer your questions, and or the two of us will always find someone who can answer your questions if we can't. It was my pleasure to meet all of you guys tonight, and thank you very much. I know I'm saying tonight, I'm on the East Coast, so it's 8:30 here, but I know it's not tonight for some of you guys yet. But anyway, it was just my pleasure to meet all of you, and to all of those of you that are listening, you know, my pleasure. I'm looking forward to meeting you. But if you have questions, feel free to contact me and Juliana. And I really look forward to working with all of you in some way or another at Fielding in the media psychology program.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
It
you.
was wonderful. Thank
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
you. Bye-bye. Thank you.